This episode of the Grand Rising Show was brought to you by Autochthonous Assembly, where the real work gets done. Autochthonous Assembly is a gathering of the minds that do the work. Now, for many of our first-time subscribers and first-time visitors, you may be wondering who Autochthonous Assembly are. You can find this information about our mission statement and our core values on the website at autochthonousassembly.com/about. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous American voices by using genealogy, also known as family history, or your family tree, which is the study of families and the tracing of their lineages and history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. Our core values are the foundation of our company, which is essential to our success and serve as a lens through which we evaluate every business decision. Those core values are to integrity, which is knowing and doing what is right. Respect, which is treating others the way you want to be treated. Responsibility, which is embracing opportunities to contribute. And servant leadership, which is serving the common good. Now at Autochthonous Assembly, we have a couple of goals here. And our first goal and foremost of the reason why we do everything that we do is to ensure that we help you do your genealogy and connect back to your tribe and find out where you are from. Everything that we do from the standpoint of the Grand Rising Show and all the information that's posted on the website is dedicated to that one specific purpose, helping you find your genealogy, find your relatives, find your family so that you will know exactly who you are. And if you choose to, tie back into your tribe, whether that tribe is a Native American tribe, an American Indian tribe, whether it's allowing you to determine which house in Africa that you belong to, or what clan of Scandinavia or Europe or France that you belong to. Either way, our goal is to do just that, help you find out who you are so you know exactly where to start. We are not here to tell you who you are, and we're not here to tell you who you are not. We're just here to help you discover your beginnings. Another one of our missions is to help you become financially independent so that you can help your generations for the next 7 generations and be able to put a stable foundation for you and your relatives. And if you should choose to use this information that we provide free of charge to help not only yourself, but your community and your tribe, then we will do everything in our power to make sure that get. And remember, our goal here is to make sure that we help you get exposed to this information to put you in the best situation possible. So now what I'm going to do now is return it back over to the panel to see if there was anything I missed, and I will go ahead and get set up so we can get ready and get digging into this information. Panel, take it away.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.
Grand Rising. Grand Rising. Hope everyone's doing well this rising. Do me a favor and put some ones in the chat if the audio is clear and y'all can hear me okay. All right, thank you, Pamela Hall. Appreciate you. Good looking up. My favorite former name, Pamela Hall. That's what's up. Hopefully everyone is doing well this rising. Today is Friday, or the third Friday of the week, as I say. Like I said, hopefully everyone's having a great Wednesday. Hopefully everyone's having a great rising. And about time to get it in. Everybody else will be joining in later. As you know, we all have stuff to do. So I'll be holding it down for right now until everybody gets in. So let's go ahead and give a shout out and a grand rising to the new subscribers. Let's say thank you for subscribing. Without you, we wouldn't have any new ones. So we thank you for that. Want to say grand rising and a shout out to the Autochthonous Assembly, silent majority. You make up the numbers that we have, and we definitely appreciate you. We look forward to hearing from you from the standpoint of your emails and stuff that you put in the form, and just letting us know what's going on in your community and what help you need and what things you are doing to help. So we definitely appreciate y'all. And to the best chat on earth, or as Doodle Brown says, the best chat in the cosmos. Welcome, Grand Rising. Hopefully everyone is doing well. And I wish you wealth, health, and many more blessings. So let's go ahead and get this roll call on the road. Grand Rising Pamela Hall. Grand Rising Copper Colored Ancestor. Grand Rising David Corey. Grand Rising Golden Moon, aka KD. Grand Rising Ohio Player. Grand Rising Mr. TJ. Grand Rising I Am Flying Squirrel. Grand Rising Charles Clark. Grand Rising Enrique. Grand Rising Celestial Love. Let's see who else we got. Grand Rising KSR. Grand Rising Starstrike. Grand Rising Copper Chopper 803. Let's see if I make sure I haven't forgotten anybody. Grand Rising No Sellout. Let's see. Anybody else? I mean, Grand Rising Nature's Void. Grand Rising Macadon 1. And if I've missed anyone, please let me know. I'll put it in the chat and I will definitely make sure I give you a shout out. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm sorry, Grand Rising Peace Works Daryl. Haven't seen you in a while. I don't think I missed anybody else. Do this right quick. Turn this down just a tad. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and hit this this clock. Everybody with a ratchet, y'all know what to do. Hand out the assignments. Somebody got to get on that backhoe, that front end loader. Grab them pickaxe, get that jackhammer. Let's get that equipment on. It's time to get to work. Let's go ahead and hit this clock, and we gonna be in there. All right. All right. Grand Rising Feather Dragon. Give me a moment, Give me a moment, Gabrielle. Once I get situated, I'll bring you in. Hopefully you can hear me. All right. So, what did we learn today? Where are my notes? Uh-oh. Give me a sec. Here we go. So what did we learn yesterday? We learned that No Sellout just entered the building. What's up, No Sellout?
Yeah, I learned that yesterday too. Grand Rising, y'all.
We learned that during this time period of the 1830s, the narrative changes and there's a major introductory to what they call the African slave, but they don't tell us where these African slaves come from. That we're supposed to make the assumption that this has something to do with the transatlantic slave trade, but we know that is not possible based off of the information coming from the Europeans themselves. Because according to their records, according to their information, Africa as we know it today is not colonized. The only part that's colonized is Tangier and Algiers, which is still under the Ottoman rule. So therefore, unless they was talking about bringing those Berbers over here, those would be the only slaves they would be talking about. And that was the only time that place was called Africa, South Africa and North Africa. The other 52 states of Africa were not colonized.
So if it was them, they would be called Berbers instead of Africans?
They would be. Exactly, they would be Berbers instead of Africans, or what some people call Moors. Another name would be Moors, because that was a derogatory term used at the time for Muslims.
So similar to when we pay attention to things written today about back in the day, and they use the term African American when it wasn't invented yet, I guess you would say. It's the same thing. You can't call the slaves African slaves if you're not going to call them what they actually are.
Right.
So.
Because Africa, right, the term Africa didn't exist at this time. Grand Rising, Liz Robinson. Yeah, it didn't exist at this time. So why are we calling them that? That term doesn't exist. That's like going back in time and when the country was named Persia, you call it Iran.
Well, if you was back then calling it Iran, they probably would have did something to you for calling it that.
And the funny thing about it is Iranians, they still call themselves Persians today. They don't call themselves Iranians. They call themselves Persians.
Hopefully they got misnomered. Somebody chose it for them.
Yeah, so Americans call them Iranians. But they refer to themselves as Persian. So that should tell you something. How is it that they know how to call themselves what their ancestors called them, but we choose to call them something else? Don't you think we should respect what they call themselves? But that's a whole other topic for a whole nother day. So with that being said, they're pushing this slave narrative, African slave narrative in the time of 1830. This is where history is starting to bombard us with all this African slave talk. But you can't talk about something that's not supported by the countries that's supposed to be sending these slaves over here. France, Spain, the Dutch, the Portuguese, who are all the same family, the Franks, or the Germans, they're not saying that they had colonized Africa and they were sending slaves over here. Matter of fact, they stipulated they couldn't colonize Africa until 1880.
Oh.
If you go look up the race to Africa, they didn't find a cure for malaria until the mid 1880s. So there's no way possible that he could have enslaved anybody and had any colonies set up, because they couldn't go into Africa until 1880. So therefore, based off of their own history, there couldn't have been any slave trade during that time.
So the written history of the countries who supposedly were involved in the transatlantic slave trade, I guess their history is only written in our history books in the version that they told us.
Yep.
And elsewhere written for real.
Yep.
McGraw-Hill, you did it again.
So, I mean, that's what it is. So, I mean, hey, I don't know what to tell you. So that's one of the things we learned. So we always got to be aware of the timelines and what the terminology is used at that time. Just like Eagle Eye said yesterday. You know, when you're looking at your surnames, what did that name mean then? It doesn't matter what it means now. It's about what it meant then, because then was when the meaning was more prevalent and it suited for the time. You have to use the terminology for the time instead of imposing a narrative to suggest something, if that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just reaching.
Nah, we reaching for the same cereal box.
So, exactly, David Corey, 10 years before the 1900s. So that's one of the things we learned yesterday. Oh, yes, the cotton gin.
Oh man, you act like the cotton gin just rung the doorbell. That's not the way you did.
No. I was listening to the show. I was listening to the show this rising because I get up really early to get prepped, right? So I can make sure that I'm trying to get on point, make sure everything is cool, everything's everything. So I'm listening to the show, and it's talking about the cotton gin, right? And the cotton gin got invented in 1793, using air quotes, supposedly, right? Supposedly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should see my man made. I probably break my fingers doing it, but so supposedly, that's where I get arthritis. It was patented in 1794, and we know that in 1790 is when the patent office was invented, and the first book that was published was a spelling book. With that being said, the cotton gin was used to separate everything, the trash and stuff, from the cotton. Now, I did back and went and did some research, and I wanted to pull it up, but I had too many windows up, and I didn't want to crash anything. So somebody do me a favor and look up cotton pickers, and then look up hand-picked cotton. And what you'll find is that the cotton gin was used when they cut the balls, B-O-L-L-S, they cut the balls off the stem and ran it through the cotton gin. Because the original cotton pickers, the ones that did it by hand, will have to go inside the ball and pull the cotton out. So now if you have a cotton gin, there's no need to pull the cotton out because you have a cotton gin that does that. So why would somebody buy a cotton gin if they're going to pay workers to pull it out when they can just chop off the ball and replant some cotton? Which basically means they don't need the workers like they used to, which basically means there's a reduction in workforce as opposed to an increase in workforce. So I went on ahead and looked that up, and there's two ways to pull that cotton. You only pull the cotton from the boll, B-O-L-L-S, if you don't have a cotton gin because you don't have anything to process it with. So it would be a waste of time to have a worker pull the cotton out of the boll and then you're going to run it through a cotton gin, because the cotton gin's whole purpose is to separate all that, the boll and all that trash and stuff, from the cotton. I'm just saying, don't get mad at me. What else did we learn? We learned yesterday that federally recognized tribes are controlled by the federal government. Federally recognized tribes are controlled by the federal government. When you have a federally recognized tribe, what you do is you are giving up your right to the land and everything within it, because if you think about it, that land is now put into a trust that is owned by the federal government, and then they protect you. So, with that being stated, you are no longer under the jurisdiction of the state that land is in. When you become federally recognized, the government now has total control. It's like putting a military base in a state. They have total autonomy. Okay? So all those federally recognized tribes do not own that land. That is the reason why that pipeline is going to be ran, and those tribes have no say over it. David Corey says Texas has the stripper pickers. Exactly. That's a manual machine. I mean, it's an automatic machine. Just set it and forget it. Okay. So whenever we look at the federally recognized tribes, those are actually tribes that are basically property of the United States government. And the last thing that we're going to talk about was that in 1832 there was a civil war happening in South Carolina that they tried not to talk about. They mentioned it briefly in the Trail of Tears yesterday, because there was a skirmish that broke out in South Carolina and Georgia. While they were still trying to remove the Cherokee from Georgia, they didn't want to get involved with the skirmish that was going on in South Carolina, further exacerbating what they call the Civil War. So there's a Civil War going on, but they disguise it as an Indian War. Grand Rising Michael Brown Harris, Grand Rising Jeffrey Gordon. So we have to pay attention to when we're reading and to what's being read and how it's being read. So, that's basically where we at with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat. No Sellout, you can go ahead and get ready to read. And I know Gabrielle is in the holding tank. So I'm going to bring her on to see what she has to say, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Grand Rising, Gabrielle. Hope you're doing well this rising. What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you loud and clear.
I was looking up some stuff you were talking about.
Can you speak up just a little bit? It's kind of low, TMH on my end.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Let me turn my volume up. I think I may have been behind on the listening, so I don't know actually where you guys are at right now. I was just looking up some stuff you guys were talking about.
Okay.
So I got to looking up and pulling up the establishment of the cotton gin and the Civil War that was in South Carolina, and different wars. And I was pulling up these books that I have that break down as different maps of different wars that happened and that were actually initiated between the French and the English to break down and basically destroy the tribes, or do their best to destroy the top tribes.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I don't know where you guys are at because I was listening on one device and waiting on another.
Right. So right now we haven't started yet. So today we're going to be talking about the Second Seminole War, which is between 1835 to 1842. So what we're doing now is we're going, from lack of a better term, in chronological order, still keeping in mind the timelines, as No Settle always likes to chime in and say, and keeping in mind what's going on as far as where we at with the immigration of the Europeans, the 17.5 million or the 18 million that's supposed to come over here at the time. Also, what could be going on with other countries and things of that nature, whether it's with Canada or even in South America. So we're trying to tie all this stuff together. So that hopefully that gives you a better understanding of where we're at.
Absolutely. I have a book. It's called The Historical Atlas of Native Americans. It's 150 maps. It's all in chronological order. And it breaks it down as far as where the tribes were. And it's really interesting because it breaks it down. The maps break it down. The tribes are, for the most part, broken down into 3 basic languages, even though they variate. The Seminole War, hold on, let me get to that. When it gets to the Seminole Wars, actually it has in this particular book like 4 different wars. Give me a second. Like I said, I was listening on one device, so I feel like I'm behind. Is this thing messing up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. While you doing that, while you looking, Liz Robinson, I see your message. And I was informed yesterday that we got your email and that there was some instructions emailed back to you as far as what to do with that information. So do me a favor and check your spam or check your trash to see if you received email from a Toxinous Assembly gmail.com. If you have not, let us know so we can resend that information back to you. So I apologize if you didn't get the message I sent yesterday before we closed out the show. Gabrielle, David Corey trying to get you to read. he says, Gabrielle, read too. You up there? So,
David Corey, stop.
I mean, it's okay. So it's a lot to read. Like I said, this is like it has 150 maps, all in chronological order, but also it breaks down. And I'm pretty sure this isn't all the wars that happened. This is just what is put in this particular book. But when it gets to the Trail of Tears, it talks about the forced to leave the homes, but it also talks about how the lands, the communities, the tribes were established in technology and more advanced in as far as how everything was set up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which one of these you want me to read, as far as the Trail of Tears or the Seminole Wars.
Well, read. Okay, how about we do this? If you could read from the Seminoles Wars, and after you finish doing that, take a picture of it and email it to me, and then we can post it in the forum.
Okay.
I'm on a coffee break. I see.
What you say?
I don't even drink coffee. Y'all put me on a coffee break.
Man, listen. Look, we trying to say your voice, bro.
Me. Okay, yeah. Good.
Not for that. Not for that. Ad libs only. No singing, please.
Gracious.
Now, granted, you do sing 200% better than me, but still.
What is it? 1,000% worse than everybody else?
Hey, bro, I can't talk about everybody else. I just know about me. Grand Rising, Jay Susquehanna. Glad to see you caught the cab this rising, bro.
Peace, Jay. Peace.
70 years. North America.
You know what I imagine Gabriella's doing? I imagine the book is about as big as she is, and when she turned the page, she got to use both hands.
She got a never in the story book.
Exactly.
She ain't there with the peanut butter and jelly.
That book sound big, don't it? I mean, it just sounds huge.
Well, I tried when I listened to everyone, I like pull what I have on hand to line it up with what you guys are referencing to, because maybe I missed something first, second, third, or fifth time that I read it.
Okay. David Corey says, in all caps now. We know in all caps mean you yelling. I hope y'all know that I'm not mean, people.
Look, I muted my mic for a second when I read that.
David, stop typing in all caps, bro. Ain't that serious?
No.
Jay Susquehanna says, yes, you is.
Okay.
You ready?
So, I'm still looking. I'm trying to get to the part where it talks about the 4 different wars. It's got it breaking down, and it's got Seminoles broke down. And I'm still learning the difference in the original tribal names, because Seminole. And once I get to it, okay, this is the I guess the spread of the trade when it talks about America natives had developed an extensive trade network that crisscrosses the continent, and it goes from I don't know if this is like it goes all the way past what we now know as Mexico, all the way up past Canada.
Now, do you have anything in reference to the Second Seminole War? Because the timeline we're looking at is 1835 to 1842. Do you have anything about that?
You said 1835?
Mm-hmm. From 1835 to 1842.
1835. 1835. Page 282. 1835, 280.
Man, Gabrielle gonna mess around, have to stretch after turning them pages. I'm just saying.
Yoga.
1835. You said 1835 to
1842. It should be listed as the Second Seminole War. Grand Rising Maya Chitimaka. I think that's right. Tell you what, while you doing that, I'm gonna have No Sellout read the Seminole War from the Wikipedia page.
Oh, I got it.
You got it?
I got it. 1835, Second Seminole War. What page is this? This is 1835, 18. Go ahead, read what you're gonna read so I can get to this page real quick.
All right, go ahead. No Sellout. Read, as Oak Cliff would say. Do you need me to read it? You got it? Or you want me to read it?
You talking about the Second Seminole War?
Yes, the Second Seminole War. Yeah.
Yeah, you can read it. No, I'm kidding.
That was a good one. I'm going on move.
Nah, I got it. The Second Seminole War, also known as the Florida War, was a conflict from 1835 to 1842 in Florida between various groups of Native Americans collectively known as Seminoles in the United States, part of a series of conflicts called the Seminole Wars. The Second Seminole War, often referred to as the Seminole War, is regarded as, quote unquote, the longest and most costly of the Indian conflicts of the United States.
Stop.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to wait till I say stop. You're not supposed to. Not supposed to anticipate to stop.
It was a new section. Trust me, I was about to start reading background.
Yes.
Fans from various tribes in the. Okay.
Pam, I'm going to share my screen. I hate you, no somehow. So, it says that various groups of Native Americans collectively known as the Seminoles. So they're putting all these Indians together, but what they're saying is that we're going to just label them as Seminoles to make it simple. But they don't tell you what tribes are consistent in the Seminoles. That's very misleading and intentional. So with that being the case, it's like, what are they doing? Why would they do that? That doesn't even make any sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute your mic right quick, Gabrielle. When you ready, just unmute. So, at the end of the day, we know that there was multiple tribes. A lot of the Alabama tribes that got pushed further south, the ones that did not get captured, or the ones that were not already on the side of the European or the colonizer at this particular time. So they moved south. They started heading back home to Florida and Texas and Mexico and eventually Yucatan. So we have to, again, pay attention to what they're saying versus what they're not trying to say. So we know that all these tribes were not Seminole. We know all these tribes were not Seminole Indians, but they're going to call these as all Seminoles. And then they say the conflict is also known as Seminole Wars. So why is it sometimes listed as a Second Seminole War and then as a First Seminole War? And from what Gabrielle's telling us, there's at least two other conflicts. You see what I'm saying? So There's a bunch of misinformation, and we have to go through it all, or go through as much of it as we possibly can to get a better understanding of exactly what they're trying to do. Like the facility, pulling out the truth amongst the lies. So we can go ahead and continue reading. That's all up. Background.
Reading about the background. Bands from various tribes in the southeastern United States had moved into the unoccupied lands in Florida in the 18th century. These included Alabama's Choctaw, Yamasees, Yuchis, and Creek people. The Creeks were the largest group and included Lower Creeks and Upper Creeks and both Hitchiti and Muskogee speakers. One group of Hitchiti speakers, the Miccosukee, settled around what is now Lake Miccosukee near Tallahassee. Another of Hitchiti speakers settled around the Alachua Prairie in what is now Alachua County.
Stop.
Mm-hmm.
So now they go on and start breaking down the tribes, right? But here's something I find interesting. They said these included Alabama. So they call them the Alabamas, but it's actually the Alabama. Then they say Choctaw, Yamasee, Yuchis, and Creek people. What did they say happened to the Creek people? The Creek had two options. Which one of those options do you remember?
Was it get out of here or
get out of here and go or become citizens and stay there? And they say that the Creek were one of the largest non-European citizens at that particular time, group of citizens at that time. So what we're finding out now, depending on how you want to look at it, is that not only did some of them stay, but some of them went further south. And from what I personally believe, can't prove this, but what I personally believe is that the Creek that actually went up north were the corporation that went up north that became a federally recognized tribe, which is the reason why the Lower Creek, or the Upper Creek, who ended up becoming the Lower Creek, end up having to sue the Upper Creek to get their tribal rights back. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't have anything to stake that on as of yet. But we know that they were separated and they were called the slaves or the freedmen of the Creek, just like the Cherokee did with the individuals, with the freedmen that were left behind in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and in South Carolina. So, but I say all that to say is that now you're starting to hear about these tribes. Why didn't you hear about these tribes when they was fighting up north, when it was the Creek Wars? The Yamasee were all up in Georgia. Why didn't you hear about them? The Hitchiti? Why are we just not hearing about them too? You see what I'm saying? So, I don't know. It's just something we gotta keep an eye on, if that makes sense. Because what's happening is they're starting to slip with the narrative that they're trying to portray. Because at this particular time, they're making it seem like all the Indians are disappearing. But as you start to read, we're finding that all they did was moved further south. Some went north, some stayed where they are, but then there was some that still went south. But if you look at history in the early 1600s, between the 1600s and 1700s, according to history from the American side, all the Indians disappeared or died out because of disease, right? If that's the case, how are they still fighting wars in the 1800s if they all died out in the 1700s? It doesn't make, it doesn't make sense. So that's just my 2 cents on that. And so, of course, we're going to start hearing some more about, runaway slaves and African slaves. So just keep an eye out for what I got a new acronym. It's called FAN. Okay. It's called, FAN stands for Fake Anglo Narrative. You could replace the Anglo with whatever other word that starts with A that you want, but this is a children-friendly show, and we love the children, so we're gonna call it FAN, Fake Anglo Narrative, aka Lectio de Facilio, meaning they're trying to create a narrative that's not real, and we can see right through it. Antonio Baptiste says assimilation. You can use that word. I like the way you did that, playing words. I just caught that. Yeah, but see, I'll mess that up. So I'm just gonna say fake Anglo narrative. You can use whatever you want to use in that. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the fan. So how about we do that? All right. So no sellout.
Yes.
You ready?
Yes.
Yeah, you stopped off with the Spanish in St. Augustine.
All right. The Spanish in St. Augustine began calling the Alachua Creeks Cimarrones, which roughly meant quote-unquote wild ones or quote-unquote runaways, and which is the probable origin of Seminole. This name was eventually also applied to the other groups in Florida, although the Native Americans still regarded themselves as members of different tribes.
Stop.
All right.
Again, trying to give people pet names. Jesup Swan, I said, wait a minute, them kids supposed to be in school. I mean, they could listen to the recording, Jay. I mean, come on, man. Work with a brother. So, it said the name was eventually also applied to other groups in Florida. Who's applying that to these different tribes? That's the question. Because it says eventually also applied to other groups in Florida, although the Native Americans still regarded themselves as members of different tribes. So therefore, the Indians didn't refer to themselves as these tribes that they're trying to classify them as. So who is the people that eventually applied this to other groups? Right? Why are they doing that? What's the purpose of doing that? Well, the purpose is to make those tribes start to disappear, because if you tie them all into one group or one name, then no one really knows or does any research about them, and it's very difficult for people to actually find out who they are from a standpoint as a people and where their people are based off of the FAN or the Lectio de Facilio, fake Anglo narrative. Okay, so I wanted to point that out right quick. So let's see. I stopped you at different tribes so you can pick up from other groups in Florida, please, sir.
All right. Other groups in Florida at the time of the Seminole Wars included quote-unquote Spanish Indians, so-called because it was believed that they were descended from Calusas, and quote-unquote Rancho Indians, persons of Native American ancestry, possibly both Calusa and Creek, and mixed Native American and Spanish ancestry, living at Spanish-Cuban fishing camps on the Florida coast.
Stop. Spanish Indians. Question. Is there a such thing as Spanish? Really? Spanish? No.
Ish.
Are you trying to say Berber Indians? Or are you trying to say these Indians that came from South America? What are you saying? Because it says you got this. I love reading how people put stuff. Grand Rising Mike Easton, Grand Rising P. Parker, Grand Rising Powhatan 9 Man. It says Spanish Indians in quotes, and it says so called because it was believed that they were descended from Calusas. Who believed it? Who's telling the story? So let's see who the Calusas are. And I'll put the link in the chat. Remember, these people were believed to be Calusas. There's no proof that they were Calusa, but they were believed to be Calusa. It says, the Calusa were a Native American people of Florida's southwest coast. Calusa society developed from that of archaic people of the Everglades region. Previous indigenous cultures had lived in the area for thousands of years. So that means that would make them what? Indigenous, right? Indigenous? No? Okay. Are y'all having a hard time hearing me? Alright. So, it says previous indigenous cultures had lived in the area for thousands of years. At the time of European contact in the 16th and 17th centuries, the historic Calusa were the people of the Calusa-Chachi culture. They are notable for having developed a complex culture based on estuarine fisheries rather than agriculture, so they were fishermen. Calusa territory reached from Charlotte Harbor to Cape Sable, all of present-day Charlotte and Lee counties, and may have included the Florida Keys at times. They had the highest population density of South Florida. Estimates of total population at the time of European contact ranged from 10,000 to several times that, but these were speculative. Mr. TJ says, no, you holler this. Oh, so they want no sellouts mic to be turned up. So let me turn mine down a little bit there. Now turn his up.
Mic check. Turn me up. Turn my headphones up.
Is that better for him?
Mic check. Microphone check.
Mr. TJ said, nah, you holler this. Antonio says, yeah, all right, cool. So where were we? Oh. So that's why I love that chat. That's so awesome. So it goes on to read that the Calusa political influence and control also extended over other tribes in southern Florida, including the Miami. Look at that word.
Right.
Miami or Miami. Y'all know who that is. Those are Mayans, right? That's them the Mayans, yo.
Come on,
the
man.
Mayans. Come on. And they were around Lake Okeechobee and the Tequesta and Jaga on the southeast coast of the peninsula. Calusa influence may have also extended to the Ais tribe on the central east coast of Florida. So let's see who these Miami, who they gonna say these people are.
What,
Go ahead. What you got, Gabrielle?
Okay. So I got what it's talking about, but the war, but for which is defined, I got it in two different books that's breaking it down, and it's considered that Florida. Okay. So Florida, South Carolina, I'm looking on a map. What is that? Florida, all the way to Louisiana. You had, in one book, it has it in that region, which is considered the Indian tribes of North America. It has it broken down into sections 1 through 10, where it has Maya, Almac, and where it says Maya and Almac, it's actually closer in what we call now the United States. But Almac, Zapotec, Toltec, Aztec, Taos, Santa Clara, San Ildefonso. If I'm not saying this right, I apologize. Santo Domingo, Isleta, Acoma, Zuni, Hopi, Pima, Papago, Human, which is That's what they speak in their tribes of Gila, which we now call Colorado, Navajo, Walape, Havasupe, Apache, Natchez. Okay, so it's 87 tribes in this book. And then in this other book, it has it broken down by the regions, but it's a total of 87 tribes. And for every one symbol that it's showing, one symbol represented 1,000 people to that area. So how they have it broken down into 10 regions, going from the Arctic all the way down past Mexico. So it breaks down to over 5,000, is that 1, 2, 3? No, over 10,000 people per tribe that covered all of what we now call the United States. The Cherokee, Chickasaw, which Cherokee looks actually a smaller tribe, but Cherokee, Chickasaw, Catawba, Creek, Gallus, Mobiles, Calasues, Caddos, Natchez, those, what I'm seeing is that those are the lands that were initially wanted, but those are the tribes that where those wars were created to attack each other.
Okay. Now, what two books are you reading from?
Okay, I'm reading from the Historical Atlas of Native Americans.
Okay.
I'm also reading from uh, 1924 encyclopedia.
You said 1924 encyclopedia?
Uh-huh.
You know which encyclopedia it is? Does it say?
Encyclopedia Americana.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm saying that so people can actually, some people may actually have that book. Yeah, so that's why I'm asking. What else you got for us?
I'm flipping through these books. Okay, Mark 157.
Well, while you do that, if you come up across something, just unmute yourself. I'm gonna go ahead and read who these
line this all up just like
yeah,
read it.
Yeah, Maya Emi. So. Alright. So I'm gonna go ahead and read who this Maya Emi are. The name looks very familiar to Mayan. Okay, so it says the Maya Emi, also the Miami, the Mamie, or the Miami, were Native American people who lived around Lake Miami, now Lake Okeechobee, in Belle Glade area of Florida from the beginning of the Common Era until the 17th and 18th century. In the languages of the Miami, Calusa, and Tequesta tribes, Miami meant big water. The origin of the language has not been determined, which basically means they claiming they don't know. I'ma say they're Mayan. Just too close. The origin of the language has not been determined, as the meanings of only 10 words were recorded before extinction. Okay, come on now. Brother, this is what we doing? I'm gonna go back and read it. It says the origin of the language has not been determined, comma, as the meanings of only 10 words were recorded before extinction. How do they know that? The linguist Julian Granberry states that the language of the Calusa Miami, which he calls Galkata, and Tequesta people is related to the Tunica language. The Tunica language. The current name Okeechobee is derived from the Hittite word meaning big water. The Miamis have no linguistic or cultural relationship with the Miamis of Great Lakes region. The city Miami is named after the Miami River, which derived its name from Lake Miami. And they're trying to say that they have no relations to the Indians in the Great Lakes, which is further up north. Come on, man. Really? This is what they're doing? So you have two different tribes that's supposed to be from different languages, but they're going to say they're the same name. Okay. Yeah. All right. Got it. I'm an all-day sucker. So look at the history. It says the Miamis built ceremonial and village earthwork mounds around Lake Okeechobee, similar to those in the Mississippian culture and the earlier mound builders. Now remember, we've already seen and we've already shown proof that the Mississippian culture left Mississippian region and ended up going back to the Yucatan. And they have the same mounds. So if they're saying that these Miamis, the Miamis, have the same mounds as the Mississippians, then we can further ascertain, speculate, guess that the Miamis are the Mayans. I'm just saying. It says they dug many canals as other earthworks to use as pathways for their canoes. The dugout canoes were platform type with shovel-shaped ends resembling those used in Central America and the West Indies. See? They're telling on themselves. Rather than the pointed end canoes used by other peoples in the southeastern United States. Then it says Hernando de Escalante Fontaneda, who lived with the tribes in southern Florida for 17 years in the 16th century, said that Miamis lived in many towns of 30 to 40 inhabitants each, and that there were many more places where only a few people lived. The game and fish of Lake Okeechobee provided most of the Miami's food. They used fishing wares and ate black bass, eels, American alligator tails, Virginia possum, terrapins, and snakes, and processed kuntai for flour. In high water seasons, they lived on their mounds and ate only fish. Come on now. This what we doing? So, Hyena C says we all Mississippians from Illinois to the Yucatan. That's what I'm saying. But I'm reading the information and we just gonna, we gonna do what it do and keep it moving, keep it pushing. Not trying to push a narrative, just giving my perspective. So yeah. But let's see where we at. I'm all on the wrong screen and the wrong mouse. Forgive me, people. It says at the beginning of the 18th century, raiders from the province of Carolina repeatedly invaded the territory, burning villages and capturing or killing members of the Florida tribes down to southern end of Florida Peninsula. They sold the captives into slavery, destined for markets from Boston to Barbados. In 1710, a group of 280 refugees from Florida that included the Cacique of Miami arrived in Cuba. In 1738, the Miami had a fort on the coast south of Cape Canaveral. In 1743, Spanish emissaries sent, got my mouse in the way, Biscayne Bay reported that the remnant of the Miamis, which they call Miamis or Mamies, were part of a group of about 100 people, which also included Santa Luzos and Mayaca people. Still lived 4 days north of the Miami River. Any survivors were presumed to have been evacuated to Cuba when Spain turned Florida over to the British Empire. Several archaeological sites are known from the area occupied by the Miami, including Fort Center, Belgrade, Big Mound City, the Baton Mounds Complex, and Tony's Mounds. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Come on, man. The Calusa, they all come from South America and they migrated north. So stop playing. So are you able to read? No sellout. The rest of it where it starts in the United States and Spain were at odds over Florida. Or you need me to read?
Oh, I can read.
Okay.
Where we at?
The United States and Spain were at odds over Florida.
Oh, you back at the one. Man, let me go back up and put this in.
I told you you don't need to click, bro. I got that part.
Couldn't help it.
You couldn't help it, really. You could.
I don't know.
You could.
Man, I'm clicking the wrong link again.
It just went over there by itself. You had nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's just hard headed. You got a hard headed phone. You got a phone that don't listen. The phone don't listen. That's what we doing. Man, okay. Just all right. That's fine.
Cool. It's in the description box. The link is in the description box, folks.
I'm a copy the link and put it back in the description box. That way people will have a fresh link. Hold on, give me 1 second, please. There you go. Bam.
We're at the United States and Spain. We're at odds.
Yep, there you go.
All right. The United States and Spain were at odds over Florida after the Treaty of Paris ended the American Revolutionary War and returned East and West Florida to Spanish control.
Stop. And the reason why I want to... Hold on, man.
I was on roll. 1 minute. No, it ain't. I'm sorry.
I want to bring to attention that the Treaty of Paris was not the only treaty that it did. That Treaty of Paris didn't only end the American Revolutionary War. That treaty ended two or three other wars, 2 or 3 other American Indian wars. So keep that in mind. So go ahead. I just wanted to bring that up.
The United States disputed the boundaries of West Florida, which had been established while the territory was under British control. They accused the Spanish authorities of harboring fugitive slaves and of failing to restrain the Native Americans living in Florida from raiding into the United States. Starting in 1810, the United States occupied and annexed parts of West Florida. In 1818, Andrew Jackson led an invasion of the Floridas, leading to the First Seminole War. The United States acquired Florida from Spain through the Adams-Onis Treaty in 1819 and took possession of the territory in 1821. Now that Florida belonged to the United States, settlers pressured the government to remove the Seminoles. In 1823, the government negotiated the Treaty of Moultrie Creek with the Seminoles, establishing a reservation for them in the middle of the territory. 6 chiefs, however, were allowed to keep their villages along the Apalachicola River. Apalachicola. Wait a minute. That was like Appalachia. Wait a minute.
Apalachicola.
Yeah, exactly. Stop.
I shouldn't have clicked that link. All right, I stopped.
Tell me you didn't click a link.
I did, but I came back.
Oh, okay. Andrew Jackson's everywhere again. He led the invasion of the Floridas, leading to the First Seminole War. So we're on the Second Seminole War. They said Andrew Jackson was led to start the First Seminole War. Go figure that, right? We got Copper dropping links in the back chat. Hold on.
Yeah, he posted a picture of a mock-up of a Miami catamaran.
Does it look like an Egyptian catamaran?
It definitely does. Yo, I was looking at this picture like, what river is this? The Nile? What is this?
Yo, I'm gonna see if I can post that so that people in the chat can see it. But yeah,
what is this? This is whack.
Then it says United States acquired Florida from Spain through the Adams Owners Treaty in 1819 and took possession of the territory in 1821. Now that Florida belonged to the United States, settlers pressured the government to remove the Seminoles. Same story, different tribe. Same story, different tribe. Then it goes on to say in 1823, the government negotiated the Treaty of Moultrie Creek with the Seminoles, establishing a reservation for them in the middle of the territory. 6 chiefs, however, were allowed to keep their villages along the Apalachicola River. So, were they the sellouts? What you think? What you think of sellout? Were they the sellouts? Let's look at this treaty. Bones got me wanting to read treaties now. Bones be a beast when it comes to treaties. And he be breaking that stuff down like nobody's business. You didn't click on the link, did you? No, sellout.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm talking to cop in the back.
I gotta keep my eye on you, man.
I gotta keep my eye on one screen.
Hello.
What's going on, Bones?
What up?
Nothing much.
You good, bro? Everything good with you?
Oh, everything great.
You know, look, you know it ain't the same start. You know it ain't the same starting the show without you.
Oh, you want to start all over?
You're such a butthole.
What? We can come back in. Hey, that's a swear jar. Elementary school kids.
I said you're a butt toe. That's
okay. Okay. That's a little weirder, but okay. All right, I'll take it.
Okay then.
I got a clip to post for TMH in the back. There's a clip for that, TMH.
Oh Lord! Of course there is. Of course there is.
The Grand Rising Bones, peace, Bones, and peace to anybody else who came in the chat that we didn't. You know what? Let's do a quick roll call. My bad.
Well, y'all know today is October 30th.
Oh,
yesterday was the 29th. So it went down. Just had to go sign some paperwork.
That's what it is.
Just had to go sign some papers.
Yeah, they'll be surveying. They'll be surveying in November. They'll be surveying November, and we should have the first tower up before December 1st hits. Okay. Congratulations, buddy.
No.
So when you say survey, you gotta realize we got a lot of new people since that announcement. So can you give us a brief recap of what you are talking about, sir? So the new subscribers and the new people will know exactly what's going on with the Toxinous Assembly and the Cab Grand Rising show, and I'm going on Merp.
Oh, ain't no problem. Just cough it itself. But let's go.
How you cut off a 1-syllable word? I want to know.
Ain't nobody doing that.
Just to inform the relatives, some who know, by Autonomous Assembly being a nonprofit, and by the consistency of how we do the show, it allowed us to put in the applications for FCC towers, which we got approved for, and they'll be coming out surveying. And like I said, we should be getting our first one put up in testing. In every other area where we have influence with the show, we can start looking towards getting towers put up. Basically, allowing us to broadcast on an FM or AM signal. Hopefully by this evening, I'll have the frequency channel and the rest of the information for everybody else. I just had to go sign the final paperwork.
We be putting in work over here.
Over here?
Just taking advantage of, a lot of the benefits that we talk about all the time. And instead of telling people about it, we're going to build it for the community and show people that we can build our own. That the days of waiting for somebody to come do it for us, we ain't do. Listen, that don't work, so we not even going to attempt that. That plan Ben got thrown out the window.
Gone.
But it's important because it's one thing to tell somebody what they can do. It's another thing to show them what we can do. And we made a conscious decision as a Toxins Assembly, as a group, as a collective, that we would much rather do it in real time so you can see and also participate as we're doing it in your own communities, opposed to us doing it and then coming back and reaching back and helping, if that makes sense. So y'all are seeing this and witnessing this in real time. So it's being recorded as we're doing it. And as other people are doing the same thing, it's also being recorded. So it keeps people from creating that fake Anglo narrative. So appreciate your bones and all you do, bro.
No, bro. Like I said, y'all make it possible. Y'all make it possible for this to happen. You know, much thanks to every person that put in time on the panels. Much thanks to the listeners, because when I say we, I mean we. All of us make this possible. And we're not building this for the members of A2. We're not building this for the members of a particular city. No, it's for all of us. And if we don't use it, then it goes to waste. This is the blueprint on how we can build our own. That's all it is. The blueprint of building our own. We ain't waiting on the corner. We ain't holding with our hands up. We ain't asking. We're just going to get up and build. That's what we're going to do.
Facts.
But it feel good, y'all.
Bones David Corey said, "Why you always lying?"
Really?
It's all right. That's all right.
David, why you David? Hold on, David Corey. Why, David? Do you have any other function besides caps on your phone?
He said, "I'm talking all loud." He's typing all loud.
He said, "Hold on, partner."
And no, Cliff, congratulations to yourself, because like I'm saying it again, this isn't built for us. This is built for all of our children.
Exactly.
All of our future. A Taunton Assembly is the blueprint for all of the indigenous people. Like our brother TMA say all the time, we are not saying this is the only way, but it is a way that we know that works. And instead of talking to y'all about it, we're going to build it in real time. So as y'all come and as these things are being built, you are a part of it.
That's right. So
how we get flowers? Who we talking to? We talking to people. We talking to y'all.
All right, so we got another guest on 0744. No, that's Bones. Yeah, that's Bones. Never mind.
He got all excited too. He sat up in the chair like,
I'm like, who the hell?
Greetings and salutations, sir. Oh,
that's Bones. Never mind. Michael Brown Harris says that's why I got to get out of Cali. Michael, I'm not gonna call you Mike because you might not be wanting to be called Mike. Mr. Brown Harris, I would encourage you to reach out to the individuals in your community and find out who has Indian in their family and start there, because it'd be a lot easier, from my personal opinion, to start where you at than to relocate. I'm just saying. I mean, I could be wrong. We wouldn't be the first nor the last time, because I'm gonna be wrong about some things. But that's just me. So, all right. Here we go. So, y'all ready to get back? So we reading the Adams. The Adams. What'd you say?
I thought the show was over. That sounded like salutations.
Nah, man, that ain't nothing but 9:20. Don't do that.
Make nobody mad in the chat just by mentioning that.
Gabrielle, come get him. Just come get him. Just because he's not acting right. Make him hold the book while you read from it. He needs some exercise.
I'm the podium now.
So we're reading the Adams Honest Treaty or Onus Treaty. It's also known as the Transcontinental Treaty, the Florida Purchase Treaty, or the Florida Treaty. And it was a treaty between the United States and Spain in 1819 that ceded Florida to the U.S. and defined the boundary between U.S. and New Spain. Okay? So that means they still hadn't finished carving out Spain, or they still haven't finished carving out Florida. So they own a piece of Florida, but not all of what is now Florida. Okay.
Peace, Pamela Hall.
It said it's settled. Yeah, peace, Pamela. It says it settled a standing border dispute between the two countries and was considered a triumph of American diplomacy. It came in the midst of increasing tensions related to Spain's territorial boundaries in North America against the United States and Great Britain in the aftermath of the American Revolution. Also came during the Latin American Wars of Independence. Because remember, what we read is that Spain, yes, they owned Florida, but they couldn't control Florida. Because those Indians was doing what they wanted to do because they had their own governance. You won't come into Florida record shop. That's where I get more of your feelings hurt. You better read them. You better read them Spanish archives.
More than or less than? Let's go with more than.
So I'm just saying. But at the end of the day, just want to keep everyone abreast of what's going on and how these treaties affect not only the tribes, but how they affected the layout of the land. So now we're seeing that the Americas owns a piece of Florida, not all of Florida, because some of it is still owned by Spain. So Spain only ceded a portion of Florida. And like James was saying, if you look at some of the older maps, which probably are in the book that Gabrielle got, that would be the Historical Atlas of Native Americans or the 1924 Encyclopedia Americana. You might find that when you look at that time frame of those maps, that you'll see that Florida stretched all the way to Texas. So something to think about. So you got to pay attention to the landscape at the time that they're talking in reference to what's going on in history. So with that being said, we're going to go back to the Second Seminole War. And now we're talking about the Treaty of Moultrie Creek. See what that was about. You close this out, close that out, and that out. So the Treaty of Moultrie Creek, I'm going to put the link in it. All right. The Treaty of Moultrie Creek was an agreement signed in 1823 between the government and the United States and the chiefs of several groups and bands of Indians living in the present-day state of Florida. The treaty established a reservation in the center of Florida Peninsula. Stop. Now, why is that important? Because this treaty...
Telling you to...
Go ahead, Bones. Go ahead. You got it.
You see they showing you that there's other Indians, other bands of Indians that they don't give you no names for, but they all over in Florida though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we was talking about that earlier. Yeah, they talked about the Calusa and the Moniac. Sound familiar?
Yep. Mm-hmm. But that's some relatives that got a lot of stuff that you might think was Egyptian.
Yeah, Copper put a picture of the catamaran in the back that looks just like an Egyptian catamaran.
See how they dress at times and stuff too.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, what came first, chicken or the egg? So then it goes on to read that. So this is 1823. This is what I wanted to point out. This is 1823. The Second Seminole War didn't start until 1835. Right? So this is 12 years before the Second Seminole War. You see how they did that? So they already started treaties with those Indians before they even owned that territory. Come on, man. Don't you got to get permission to go into another country's place to set up some treaties with some Indians?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, don't you got to get permission from the owner to sell something?
That's like the United States going over to Russia to settle a treaty to put a treaty together for some indigenous people of Russia. They gotta have permission. You just can't be going to somebody's territory and setting something up. Come on, man. What they doing? They on the same team. They on the same side. They playing the same game. The only ones that are not aware are the Indians. Just saying, though. Gotta pay attention. So, I just wanted to point that out. And then it says the 6 chiefs, however, were allowed to keep their villages along the Apalachicola River. So they were able to stay there because they signed a treaty. I'm just saying. That's what's up. All right.
Some of that paper where you used to own it, now you became a renter once you signed it. That paper, man.
Yep. So. All right, so how about we do this? Nocella, can you read Move to the Reservation?
I ain't moving nowhere.
Huh?
You want me to move to a reservation?
No, I didn't say. I said, can you? You know what? I'm not doing this with you.
You're be doing that.
Can you read?
Tears was reading about just getting
Move.
me to move to a reservation.
Can you read Move to the Reservation on the Second Seminole Wars
Yes.
page? Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Move to the reservation. I will not. The Seminoles gave up their lands in the Panhandle and slowly settled into the reservation, although they had isolated clashes with whites. Colonel, later General Duncan Lamont Clinch, was placed in charge of the Army units in Florida. Fort King was built near the reservation agency at the site of present-day Ocala, Florida.
Stop.
I don't know if it's Ocala or Ocala.
Stop. What did Bone say yesterday when he was, or was it day before yesterday, when he was talking about when tribes get reservations and they become federally recognized, what happens to the land? What are two things that happen to the land? They give up the title, and that gives a government to do what?
The ability to do what they want with it.
Right.
And
they have access. They have access to and through the land, and they can build a fort near that land.
Yep.
And that's what you see happening. Because where else would they get the land to build a fort? The land got to come from somewhere. You got to remember, at this particular time, we're talking about 1827? You still got millions of people coming over here.
Yep.
Let me see something. So you're talking about 50 years, right? So from 1820, let's say from 1820 to 1870, you had over 17 million people coming to the United States, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's on average 340,000 people a year for 50 years.
Mm-hmm. It was very interesting. If you line up these immigration years right along with these wars and these policies, you start seeing a very interesting trend.
That's 28,000 people per month for 50 years. Think about that. 28,000 people per month coming to the United States for 50 years. That's a lot of people, right?
That need some places to go.
So this started in 1820. So this is 1827. So 340 times 70, about times 7. That's 2.3 million people that have already come over here. Go come over.
And you'll also see it in the census swing, where these numbers of people just started popping up all over the place. But now they're telling you these are free Africans.
So
Really?
go ahead. It was actually 2.4 million. 2.4 million people have come here since 1820. You gotta find a place for those people. Remember, it's not like this is not the year 2019. This is 1827. How long does it take to set up an infrastructure that's going to accommodate 340,000 people per year or 28,000 people per month?
Remember, at this time, there's only 13 colonies. This is expansion.
28,000
They used
people.
the people to create the states. They did the trees with the Indians, came in, built the fort, then brought in immigrants to keep encroaching on the land. They used the immigrants to keep seizing more and more land, because you would put the people in the area that you just got. A war would break out where the Indians would fight with the immigrants, justifying the United States being able to come in and take more and more and more and more. They consider these people U.S. citizens, so you're attacking U.S. citizens. You can start seeing the setup.
And you talk about 28,000 people per month divided by 13 colonies. So let's just say it's 2,000 per colony. So you dump it 2,000 per colony per month on these Indians. Exactly, Nature's Void. Come on, son. See, these are the things that people don't take into account when we start looking at the numbers. You have to look at the impact. You have to look at how it affects people. Because you just say 17 million people, you don't really think about what that actually means and how that looks. But as we start to break it down to over 340,000 people a year, 28,000 people per month, now you get a better understanding of what's going on. If you break it down per colony, that's 2,000 people. That's a little over 2,000 people per colony per month. How fast can you build a house? These people are just being dumped. That's why when we was talking about some of the Indian wars, they was talking about people building and moving these shacks, these temporary structures to help create these boundaries. They didn't have time to build houses. They were so busy trying to get land that they was building these makeshift structures so they can move them to help create the boundaries.
Remember the one dude we read about? He was able to move his house across the river.
The first
Remember when he kept
laws.
moving his house to keep more land? You went to bed on Monday, the house over here, you wake up Tuesday, it's 5 miles further down. Like, hold on, man.
And throughout the summer, that just kept happening. So, how you gonna move your house a few times?
Golden Moon says Golden Moon says 3 months we build a house. Okay, so 3 months you build a house. So by that time you didn't build one house in 3 months. So now you already have another 6,000 people in your area.
Remember this as well. This is a very important part to this story. Remember when you read, where were these immigrants sleeping at night? At this time, they wasn't sleeping in individual houses. Remember, everybody went back to the fort at night. They went back to the fort at night to sleep.
Hold it now.
That's why the forts were important.
Yep.
It's gonna keep full circling.
But guess what? Somebody was helping them build them houses. Because somebody had help to tell them which trees to go to. So you don't forget that.
It was the same 11 Africans that built the fort in New York. Everybody knows that. TMH.
Nah, Grand Rising MT Soul. He said
Grand
mud.
Rising Mike Easton.
He said mud dugouts. Y'all are crazy. He said mud dugouts.
Oh man.
So
Is that like an igloo? Is that like a southern igloo? Is that what that is? What does that look like?
So there were actually Indians helping them build these houses. So know that to be true.
Peace, Charles Ford.
Just as sure as you read that they had Indians supporting the U.S. military.
Yep.
Indians assimilating and becoming the U.S. military. You have to ask yourself, if these Europeans are just now coming, where were the numbers for the military? Who was the military before large amounts of Europeans started coming in the mid-1800s?
So now you understand why stuff was being burned down. Think about this. If you are migrating people because you're trying to preserve the land, you come back 10 years from now and see somebody on your stuff, what you gonna do? What you doing? You gonna burn it down. So they're burning down these people's homes that they're building because when they just came over here. That's where all these raids were from. So there would be raids, people would run to the force, and then the military would have to either chase them off or get killed trying to protect these people. That's where these wars were from. Because as they're trying to build these houses, the Indians whose land they're taking are burning the houses down. So you gotta look at things in totality and look at things for what they're worth and stop listening to what somebody's telling us. So alright, so where we at? No sellout.
You mean as a collective?
No, what we reading?
So you're gonna ask me that live on air?
Yeah, that's the best time to ask. That's the best time to ask, isn't it?
So a State of the Union address.
No.
Okay, so we move into the reservation. In the reading, we are moving to the reservation.
Yeah, I think you're in the second paragraph.
Yes, sir. By early 1827, the Army reported that the Seminoles were on the reservation and Florida was peaceful. This peace lasted for 5 years, during which time there were repeated calls for the Seminoles to be sent west of the Mississippi. Hold up, man. It was peaceful, but you know what? Y'all good over there, but can you just move back just a little bit further? Just no.
No, but you get it now. You create the reservation because the reservation treated as a holding cell.
Holding cell.
A massive holding cell that you put all the Indians, so it's easier for you to relocate them from east to the west now.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, oh man. All right. Oh, the Seminoles were opposed to the move, and especially to the suggestion that they should be placed on the Creek Reservation.
Ooh.
Hold up now. You gonna move me from one that you said was mine and now I gotta move to theirs? I don't even like.
But now that you see the mixing in of different tribes, why there's a mass confusion?
Most whites regarded the Seminoles as simply Creeks who had recently moved to Florida, while the Seminoles claimed Florida as their home and denied that they had any connection with the Creeks.
Stop.
Now y'all just got here gonna tell me where I'm from, who I'm is.
Stop.
And that's how they do it. My bad.
No, you good. You know, I was telling no side because he'll run. Not only will he run through a light, he'll run through a stop sign. He'll cross the train tracks with the lights blinking and everything. So you got to tell him more than once.
You know what? I do be
turn
looking.
Around and come back and do it again.
I do be looking first though. So.
We got passengers, man.
I look. That's what I'm saying. That's why I look first. I ain't got no blindfolds on now. No veil.
So, what does this tell you? That they couldn't tell the Creek from the Seminoles. They look the same. What they say about us? We all look alike?
They tell you this is 1827. We all look alike.
No, Jerome. Oh, man, my bad. I thought you was Jerome.
No, that's Rodney, man.
Man, y'all look
Jerome.
like you look like Jerome and them Creeks. Y'all Creek now. Go with the Creek. Like, man, I'm a Seminole. And they probably didn't even claim Seminole because that's another name that they put on a whole bunch of Indian Seminoles. Lumped them all in as one.
Why David Corey said y'all all look alike? So you ain't part of us, David.
See how you did it? You see how you do me? See how brown folks do you?
Okay. He says, and then he's still yelling. I think.
Look, the man all caps is on the lock.
I think his caps lock is broke.
It's broke. That button down.
That's how David let everybody know he yelling it. He said, if it's caps lock, I'm yelling, y'all. I'm yelling it. Say it with feeling. Say it how I typed it. Read it how I typed it. Read.
Oh man.
So they're like, oh, y'all look alike. So y'all need to just be the same thing. Y'all ain't really Seminoles. Y'all came here from from Georgia where the Creeks were from. Can't tell us nothing. Look, and these people are selling them that just got here from Germany and Ireland.
They had a drone. They were able to oversee the land. They know where they from. They're like, y'all from over there. We seen it. We haven't explored over there. We just seen it from above.
You know, it's about a good 2.3 million people. Probably about a good.
You gonna make somebody. I just gonna make somebody your people. Then your actual is related. They were like, man, them your people over there.
Go over there.
Even if they're not, they is. Yeah, go over there.
Go over there with the people.
Oh man.
Like, I don't even know them. But y'all good. Y'all look alike. Y'all good.
Yeah. I want to know how many agreed. How many agreed? Who went with that little game that was played? So that's your people. So go over there with them.
The teammates,
You know the Seminoles didn't go for it because they had a second war, so we know they ain't go for it.
Exactly. They be like, teammates. Look, it's like, teammates. We know you like 5 inches shorter than Bones, but y'all looking like, so going over there with them. Going over there.
Look, that's Danny DeVito.
And all the Schwarzenegger.
Exactly. Twins, straight up.
Like he like 6'12", you like 5'0". Y'all looking like.
What's the map on 6'12"?
Don't do that.
Oh man. Oh, let me stop.
You know, Bones about 20 feet tall. Stop playing. You one of them giants.
Oh man, look, we ain't gonna get back into that conversation. the Giants. When did they exist? Oh man, was I reading?
Yes, you were. Before I stopped you.
Oh, did you finish what you were saying?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, we looking like that's all. That was the only point I had.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I ain't got nothing else.
Everybody knows that we all look alike.
Yeah, you could.
All right. So what was I at? Okay. Over. No, that's not what I was at. Okay. Yeah. Am I at the next paragraph?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The status of runaway slaves was a continuing irritation between Seminoles and whites. Spain had given freedom to slaves who escaped to Florida under their rule, although the U.S. did not recognize it. More go over there? You go over there. Look, everybody playing the go over there game. You releasing slaves into the country?
But they didn't say
my thing is this.
Being relocated. That don't make no sense.
But this is the funny thing about it.
Ahead,
how they tell you in the same sentence that Indians were captured by other Indians as slaves, then turn around and say runaway slaves but make them all African. So what happened to these Indian slaves? They wasn't running away?
Pixie dust. Well, the moment they ran away, they changed to Africans.
That's exactly.
African means nothing more than a runaway Indian.
Yep, another descriptive term for black, Negro, colored, Indian. That's all it is. Again, look up that definition for African American, and I had you scratching your head like, huh? Who?
Do what now?
You know, we got a Grand Rising Trap Bab. Look, at the end of the day, it's all about the wordplay, right? African. All that means is I free, I can. It's just an incomplete sentence. I free, I can run away. That's what that means. That's what the African means. That's it.
lumped it up together.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you know how we do.
I free, therefore I can.
I free, I can. I free, I can run. That's it.
And
So where you at?
I told you, VA. Over the years, those who became known as Black Seminoles, established communities near Seminole villages, and the two peoples had close alliances, although they maintained separate cultures. Slave catchers argued over the ownership of slaves. New plantations in Florida increased the pool of slaves who could escape to the Seminoles.
Stop. Come on.
Do me a favor. Before we go any further, can we click on Black Seminoles just to see what they identified as a Black Seminole?
I already clicked on it.
It's very interesting.
Why you be clicking? Why you be clicking?
I was going to get stopped, so I just clicked it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Another definition is going to have you scratching your head like, hold on, man. Y'all make up your mind.
Okay. So, Black Seminoles are Black Indians associated with the Seminole people in Florida and Oklahoma. They are mostly blood descendants of the Seminole people, free blacks, and of escaped slaves called Maroons. Really? Who allied with Seminole groups of Spanish Florida. Many have Seminole lineage, but due to the stigma of having dark skin, they all have been categorized as slaves or blacks. Stop. They just told you what they did.
So
they just
telling
told
you that Indians were a dark skin already. They're telling you they were a dark skin and got mislabeled as slaves or freemen because of their dark skin. So how can you come back later on and say Seminoles are African slaves?
Because Africa.
I can't.
Nowhere in that paragraph it said anything about no African, did it?
I'm not a fan of this fan. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that fan either.
No. Fake Anglo narrative. I'm not a fan. I'm not. It says many have Seminole lineage.
Blacks and especially slaves. It's free blacks and slaves.
It says many have Seminole lineage, but due to the stigma and having dark skin, they all have been categorized as slaves or freedmen. Due to the stigma of having dark skin, they all have been categorized as slaves or freedmen, which basically means they're not slaves nor freedmen, they're just Indians
that got recategorized as slaves.
So they were given nicknames just like all of us were given nicknames.
Bingo.
So freedmen and slaves are nicknames. We're gonna call you freedmen and slaves because you are a heavily melanated Indian. And we want to separate you from the Métis. We want to separate you from those Aztecs that mix with the harlot.
Separating the light-skinned Indian from the dark-skinned Indian.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
The ones that they can blend in and assimilate a lot more easier. Yep. We got to remember, isn't this around the same time as Benjamin Franklin's letter?
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with the immigration and people coming in, so we already know that they were complaining about America was already swarthy. They were complaining about this already. They're telling you now, in their own words, that they relabeled the Seminole Indians as slaves and freedmen because of the color of their skin.
Well, this is about a good 70 years after that letter, because that letter he put in was before the Revolutionary War. That was before 1776. But there, they did much. Yeah, you're right.
Issue.
Yeah, you're right. They did. Why does it seem so far? You're right, man.
It's addressing, because think about it, the major immigration started in 1820. It's addressing their issues.
I was just a victim of indoctrination, peoples. That was over 100 years ago. No, it wasn't. But it felt like it. Anyway. So, it says, historically, the Black Seminoles lived mostly in distinct bands near the Native American Seminole. See how they did that? They're the Native American Seminole. Remember
what a Native American Seminole would really mean.
Yep.
A Native American Seminole would just mean somebody that was born in America and adopted by the Seminoles.
Who was also part of the 5 civilized tribes, correct?
Correct.
Separation.
Hold on, which one?
We got to
First tribe
remember
or second
our
tribe?
ancestors' ways. If Indians live close to Europeans, they would get assimilated by Europeans. But what's the reverse of that? When Europeans lived around with Indians, they would get assimilated by the Indians. Therefore, getting all these different distinct looking people. Our ancestors adopted a lot of people, whether we like it or not, and we really don't know the reason why. But the reality is they did adopt a lot of people into tribes.
Exactly.
And it caused a problem later on down the line that we'll see. But that's what they did.
Can I read something, please?
Yes, you can.
My computer is taking forever. I uploaded these books. I don't know if something don't want these books to. So I'm just read this. When the 5 civilized tribes journeyed in Indian territory, they took their slaves with them. Mixed blood Indians tended to be the slave owners, but not entirely. Certainly by 1860, the Cherokee owned 4,600 slaves, the Choctaw 2,344, the Creek 1,532, the Chickasaw 975, and the Seminole 500. The Seminole treated their black slaves differently to the other 4 tribes. However, which led to the unexpected trouble. Traditionally, the Seminole did not practice chattel slavery, but called fugitive slaves their property to protect them from slave catchers, whether Chickasaw hunters or white patrollers. The Black Seminoles lived in separate villages in Seminole territory and paid food tribute to the Indians, but also they were allied militarily and fought in the Seminole Wars. When removed to Indian territory, the Black Seminoles rode in on their own horses and carried their own personal rifles. The Seminoles were relocated to Cherokee lands around Fort Gibson, where Creek and Cherokee slave owners feared the influence of free Black Seminoles upon their slave populations. The Black Seminoles settled in the Illinois river bottoms near Weber's Falls, where the Cherokee slaves socialized with them. On November 15, 1842, some 25 slaves, mainly from a plantation belonging to Joseph Van, a steamboat owner, locked up their owners and overseers, stole guns, horses, and mules, and set off towards Mexico, where slavery was illegal. Eventually, more than 25 men, women, and children were chased by Cherokees and Creeks, who caught up with them near a Canadian river in Choctaw Nation. A 2-day fight began. 2 slaves were killed, while 12 were captured. The Cherokees and Creeks went home to summon reinforcements, while the slaves encountered slave catchers James Edwards with his Delaware company, Billy Wilson. The slaves killed them and released 8 Africans who were being returned to their owner in the Choctaw Nation. Don't know if you want to keep reading, but this is one of the things I've been trying to upload. Well, actually email.
Okay, so
It's interesting.
go ahead, Bounce. You got it.
It's interesting because they tell you how many numbers of slaves these tribes had. But what's interesting about that is, whenever in history were Indians going to any slave auction to buy slaves, and with what finances?
Yeah.
What's even more interesting is how it says that they called them their slaves, as they called them their property, to save them from slave catchers and other white patrollers.
Correct. Because we got to remember, we did that about a month ago, that a lot of relatives would claim their people as slaves to protect them being put in slavery by somebody else, but they were just really family members.
They're claiming them as their property.
So here's my question. They say, and which book are you reading from?
This one is the Historical Atlas of Native Americans.
And who's the author, if you don't mind me asking?
Dr. Ian Barnes.
Dr. Ian Barnes. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Antonio. So here's a claim. They said these so-called slaves had their own horses and carried their own rifles. What slave do you know One is going to have his own horse and go carry his own rifle. Number two, those Indians who were slaves went up north to Illinois. They was on the plantation of a riverboat owner, right? They say that they stole horses and went to Mexico where slavery didn't exist. Why would I need to steal a horse if I have my own horse? I'll wait. So I have my own horse and I'm moving north when I could just turn my horse around and went south anyway, right? See how much sense that doesn't make? That doesn't make any sense. Why am I going to steal a horse when I'm on a horse? And if I'm running as a fugitive, why am I going to have a horse with me that's going to be weighing me down, knowing I'm going to get chased? That doesn't make any sense. That's stupid.
And all they're going to forget that Indians captured other Indians and sold them into slavery. So if these Indian tribes had slaves, there's a 9 out of 10% chance that these are just other Indians captured by different tribes. The same reason why you got different tribes running down to Florida, because at this time the South is the protection zone. Different tribes running down to the South, setting up shop for protection.
And then too, stop telling on me and telling on, yeah, I know I'm yelling, my bad. And then too, again, like I said, what slave master do you know that's going to allow any slave to have their own horse and their own gun? That doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to carry my own gun and I'm going to carry my own horse and I'm a slave? One of the things is out of proportion. I'm just saying, every movie I seen with slaves, they was in shackles. They was
basically what it seems like this term slave and slavery, dealing with our ancestors, it was a way to detribalize them. I'm gonna say it again. It was just a way to detribalize them. Because once you started breaking up these tribes and scattering these Indians, they're not intact anymore with their nations. So now it's a lot easier to lump them all up and reclassify everybody.
Uh-oh. Put that down. Hold on. Alright, guess unmute yourself. Tell us who you are and where you from. Star 6 unmute. Tell us who you are and where you from. Grand Rising. Star 6 to unmute. There you go.
Grand Rising, brothers and sisters. This is Frida.
What it do, Frida?
Grand Rising, Frida.
Frida got about 15 phones. She'll never call in on
You know what? I really do. I really do.
Y'all can't talk about me no more. Y'all can't say nothing about me no more, man.
I got 10
phones. Go on.
No, my bad. Go ahead.
No, I agree though. I moved on into a piece of property that had like 9 phone lines. I was like, what do these people do? Or what did they do? What were they up to? But anyway, let me start with, holy moly, congratulations with the tower and this independence that you guys are, like, new independence, because you've already, exercised your independence, on several levels anyway. So this is like a whole new marriage, a whole new thing, it's growing. And yet it's the same, but it's yet a whole new independence. Oh my God, you guys. This is huge. It's phenomenal. It's spectacular. It's I can't even tell you how proud I am of you all, to know that you managed to put this team of humans together that, are bringing this knowledge and stuff. But not only that, you are now the infrastructure. infrastructure. You are now the highway. I mean, you've already been the highway. You've been doing the construction and the deconstruction and everything. Pardon me, I'm fighting a cold because I'm a mermaid. But anyway, you have like just extended this thing, you know, to like a whole new realm, and that's exactly what is required for this to go further. And the fact that you guys are not just talking the talk, but you are walking and talking in real time while sharing, you know, and helping others to grow, that's multitasking, and that's the way I like it. And you know, I just congratulations. This whole Seminole thing, this whole description of Black Indians and stuff, it not only says that the Seminoles were, but it also says that the Creeks were also swarthy, chocolate, whatever you want to call it, sun-kissed, copper, you know, melanated. It says that the Cherokee were. It says that all of these Indians were. This very thing that they've confessed years later, you know, it does. And I do actually have in front of me the letter that Ben Franklin wrote. I don't know if anyone else, well, you've obviously mentioned it, but I'm looking at it right now, and it says Ben Franklin circa 1751 AD warned about the German immigrants as sons of Africa and their swarthy complexion, which was an affront to the purely white people who originally settled America. Now, that's already like a what? And it says, why should Pennsylvania find by the English become a colony of aliens who will shortly be numerous as to Germanized use instead of our Anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs, or more than they can acquire our complexions. Let me enlarge this. Yeah!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Benjamin Franklin's letter.
It says, which leads me to add one remark. The number of purely white people in the world is proportionately very small. All Africa is black or tawny. Asia, chiefly tawny. America, exclusive of the new corners, wholly so. And in Europe. And let's see, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans, also the Saxons, only excepted who, with the English, makes the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish their numbers were increased, and while we are, as I may call it, scoring the planet by clearing America of woods, and so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of the inhabitants, in Mars or Venus. Why should we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its people? Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so far an opportunity by excluding all blacks and tawnies of increasing the lovely white and red? But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind and partially is nature of the mankind. Now, 50 years is actually not that long ago. However, that's not that. Yep. That time span is not that far away. It's not. So they set it up. Of course, they knew and had a plan before they rolled in. They have to. You can't. This isn't the first time they've done this. I mean, it may be more efficient, but it certainly wasn't the first time or the first attempt, I'll say. So they had to have had a plan before they came in. And then, of course, yes, just going on a visual, if everybody's coming up in here who looks somewhat the same, we still, as human beings and in human nature, are going to find something to separate ourselves, even from those who look like us. And that's just the way that is. So you put dirty little tags, little nicknames, like you guys are saying, and that's the means of separation. Other than that, you kill and you just write something down, or you put a piece of clothing on someone, hence the red coats and the blue coats, or whatever. Because otherwise, pardon me, it's very simple for people to take a bath, to jump in a river, take a bath, change some clothes, and then jump on the other side. So, I mean, hence, that's where we are, why we are, where we are today. I mean, in all actuality. And now we currently have 560 tribes, which means there was really more than that back then. So regardless to what they're saying, if we are acknowledging 560 tribes today, there was a heck of a lot more back then. But how do you do it? You group them all into one, and then you give them little names, and then you tell them that's who they are. First you stick a gun to their heads. First you deprive them of food, water, whatever it is, and mostly everybody's sleeping on the ground, and you go to where the watering hole, all the animals go to the local watering hole, all the animals being the humans as well. So, you construct some sort of living quarters, but still, most people are sleeping on the ground, because you cannot accommodate all of that. And then, the others are fighting to get or to acquire more ground to sleep on, because they're still not building. And then let's not forget that also King Henry or some freaking body had already, did the national, or I'm sorry, not the national, but the Woods Act, the preservation of woods. So, that means that weren't no slave ships being built. Again, couldn't have been, no matter what, sort of thing. So, again, you just assimilate folks and give them a name and tell them to shut up. And here's a little bit of hush money, hush food, hush land, hush this, that. It's not really yours, but we're going to call it yours today. And keep it pushing.
The history show that that's their methods.
Right.
Because even look at people that we call Spaniards or Spanish today. If you actually study history, there's no such thing as a Spaniard. All they did was give a pet name to the people of the Iberian Peninsula. And Duluth, they just renamed them people with Spanish. Them people were there. These Germans didn't bring no set of people when they went there, and they renamed it to Spain. They just renamed it and renamed the people. No different on what they doing to us in the Americas.
Right. And I think they had beef, and they got, they had beef. They had some envy, because if the documents are true about even, the Moors cruising up in here before the Spaniards. I mean, if it's true that Columbus, actually heard about, I'm not what was it, the Mollies or whatever they were, and then decided, well, we better go assess this situation. The Moors had already, did their thing to supposedly Spain, and pulled out or got kicked out. There's the Rock of Gibraltar as supposedly as a signature. They didn't change that name, which I find is kind of interesting, but had no hesitation about coming up in here and changing names and telling people who they are. At this point, heck, after, since the last time I talked to you guys, I did some more research myself rather than I didn't send the resend the picture to you guys. But I went on and did some more research, and it's just astounding that, I keep coming to this screeching halt, with this buoy. It just keeps coming back to the military. There's Fort Bowie, there's whatever buoy in Texas, there's this, that, or it comes back to Jim Bowie, the Bowie knife, but then still the Bowie knife still goes back to the natives which he stole from. On the other side, I'm seeing Renty is freaking on so many roles. And first of all, I didn't know there was so freaking many roles, until we know about the Dawes roles, but I didn't know about the Miller, the Baker, the Cotty, and all these other roles until like just the other day, and then I'm saying, well, heck, okay, now the Rentys are on several roles. Again, that's verifying or just, it says again that these people are just spread out into so many different tribes. Families are breaking up and they're being distributed to so many different tribes, so many different names or whatever, clans, whatever you want to call them, but they're still the same people.
Just broke up their family dynamic. Now I will ask you, this is a question I will ask everyone. When you study history and you see that the plan was to break up the Americans Indian family structure, isn't it amazing that there's a group of people in 2019 that so much money and effort is dumped into keeping their family structure broken? I wonder why.
Well, you had a brother on the other day who is growing. He took your advice, and he's also, did a little chatting with the millionaire dude, and homeboy, he made a confession. He did. Homeboy made a confession. I too experienced those people, and here's weird is that I have all my life, and a lot of times I didn't know why those folks were in my company. I knew that I had certain talents that, drew, people with money into my company and stuff. But I, as I thought about it, I just couldn't really I couldn't really figure out why the heck they were there. What do you really want out of this thing? Well, there's some people that will straight out just say the wrong words right off. And then there's the red flag, and you can just, digest that and, pack up and split. I'm going to make a lot of money off of you. Okay, when someone comes at you that way, then it's really clear. But when they say, we're going to make a lot of money or we're going to do this, then, that makes it enticing, you know what I mean? So you're curious. And if you desire that money or that land or that name even, that nation, then you listen and you go for it, and that's is no different, 1827, 1527, 13, or whatever, versus, 2019. It's no different. It's human nature. You just, if it's appealing, then you go for it. If it's a means of survival, you go for it. So it's kind of hard to just call people traitors, just straight out traitors, just straight out, they've done, some absolutely are, by all means, but I think the nicer word would be survival, and even in that sense, the people, the haves, the people with the monies they do what they do with the same intent, to survive, to keep pushing, to keep it going. Somebody mentioned Dark Money the other day. That's a heck of a documentary. Oh my freaking goodness. The other thing, it'll give you a good perception or perspective, of, on how people function. One of the most interesting conversations I had, because I don't really talk about money even with millionaires, and God knows I've really been around them. I really have. But I had one conversation with Max Factor. Now, I thought that was kind of interesting because, first of all, I thought he was Max Factor, but later on I found out that he actually was not the Max Factor. Like every time one died, they put another family member in his shoes to wear the title so that the monies, as in the stocks, would not be affected by any, or by the loss of the major CEO or the stockholder. See, and I didn't understand these things until later, because again, we don't get to know that. We're not the everyday person is not privy to know these things. I got a chance to walk right up into those people's homes because the drummer was their grandson was my drummer. So, the thing was, I walked through the door. First of all, this is Gone with the Wind, kind of situation. Some old black dude is standing at the door, butler, and this door is the foyer. So you come through the foyer, step onto the porch, go through the foyer. There's one old dude, shuffling across to the actual front door, or what we consider a front door. That opens. There's another old dude who shuffles me to the dining room because they are sitting at the long table. They're merely eating chicken chili, but hey, whatever, I like chicken chili. Let's get down with it. I look at these people. They're like museum quality, like that's how much makeup and, hair is bouffanted and all of that stuff and everything. And I sit down and I'm like, hi, I'm already, they know I'm coming. They know the black person is coming. That's how I'm described. That's how I know when I walk up into any situation. Oh, you must be Frida. So I'm like, okay, well, how must I be Frida? Why would you know that? Oh, let me get it. I'm black. So again, here we are right there, the description, no matter what, whether the name black or the word black has been used, there's always going to be a visual description, with people. Now, you separate them, dark, light, hair is curly, hair straight, tall, fat, skinny, flaca. That's what Mexicans have no problem calling someone flaca if they're skinny. I mean, that's who you are in your little village. You're flaca. And that's like, okay, wow, what about what my mom named? Nope, you're flaca. And that's like, hey, that's what it is. So, I walk into a situation because my situations are mostly white. Some of their punk rockers, dirty punk rockers, except for most of them come from extremely well-to-do families. I walk up into this, you must be Frida. Okay, well, I get why I must be Frida. I get that. You didn't even have to say it. Well, now, in this situation, the butlers, the maids, the cook, I didn't even understand. I had been hearing about Cook the whole time. Cook is such a great, that's her name. Not Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Murphy, or anything like that. Her name is Cook. Even Cook knows that I'm coming, and it's like, holy crap. All right, what is this? I sit down, they're like, hey, and I'm like, hello, thank you for, inviting me. One of the cars broke down. They say, we're going to take the RTD. I live in California. At the time, the RTD was the bus. But it was really a Lexus car. They called a Lexus, a brand new Lexus, an RTD. A bus. So it was like, okay, fine. Would you like some cheese on your chili? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I get up. I take my bowl. I'm getting ready to go into the kitchen to put some cheese on my chili. Cook finally comes out, you must be Frida and don't touch that bowl. And I'm like, whoa, wait, I can put some cheese on my own chili. I mean, all you people are old. Everybody is old, like 80 plus old. So now I'm starting to scream revolt, revolution, because I'm that kind of person. Revolt. You guys need to quit. I'm not even believing what I'm seeing, and I can put cheese on my own chili, sort of thing. And the first thing Max Factor says is, why is my son playing in a band with your name on it? And I said, because I write all of the music. I said, why is your name on the pressing cone? And why is it in the Max Factor Museum? And he looked at me and he said, touche. And I said, I get that. But why did you feel entitled and privileged to take something that a black woman made her millions off of historically, and then you put your name on it, and then you put it in a museum with your name on it. How did you do that? How is that doable? And he said, it's a means of survival. We do what we need to do to stay on top. And if that calls for buying you out, stepping on your throat, taking, or whatever, that's what we do. And I said, oh, got it. And I ate my chili. And went on to see Tori Amos after that in the RTD. You know, sort of thing. But it was like, okay, you know, at the same time, I told the black people that they need to revolt. Let me turn my alarm off here, sorry. I told them they need to revolt, and one of them said, baby, I have insurance. I have 3 cars, 2 being Mercedes. My children are in college. My grandchildren are in college. My house is paid for. And she said something else, and I was like, again, got it. You know, survival on both sides, one from the rich and one from the help.
Share that information. Right quick. Hi, ENC. How we operate over here with the Autochthonous Assembly, just like when we put out information, we send links. We request that anybody else that's putting out information specifically in the chat that you either put it in the forum or you drop links. So if that's not something that you are comfortable with doing, then this might not be the platform for you. I'm not trying to be funny, but if we're going to post links and we're going to post sources, we're going to request that everybody does the same out of respect. So hopefully you get it. Hopefully it makes sense to you. So you can either go to the forum and put the information there, or you can drop in the link. So hopefully that helps, because the same thing that we request of everybody is the same thing we gonna request of you. And if we're doing it, we expect everybody else to do it. Is, you know, this is where our platform rocks. Proof is not a problem over here. So hopefully that helps. All right.
Got it.
Proof is not a problem.
And that's
Proof
why.
Not a problem.
Right, you know, and that's why I say names. You know, some people are like, that's name drop. I'm like, I say names. That was Max Factor. That was his perspective on how we live in this country. And he is from another country. You know, I mean, I just read Ben Franklin again. That's documented. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but there's still human nature, and that has to be part of the equation. Think about what people do to not only others, but what they've done to themselves first before they do it to others. So they've practiced on themselves, and then here we are. But again, you guys, you rock as usual. Thank you very much.
Definitely. All right, take care, Frida.
All right, later.
All right. So here's the thing, and this is you know, let me put this disclaimer out. The views and opinions of TMH, aka Thomas Harrelson Jr., are not those of Autochthonous Assembly. I don't know what they do on other people's channels, but we will delete people if they're not respectful. That's just, I mean, you're not coming in. I would never go into somebody's house with muddy shoes on and track all over your carpet. I would not go in somebody's house and be disrespectful, whether that's your physical house or whether that's your YouTube house. I'm always going to be respectful. So if someone asks me to do something and I'm a guest, then that's what I'm going to do. And if I don't do what's requested or asked, I expect to be escorted out. So with that being said, people got wrenches for a reason. There's no need for us to be making people moderators if they're not going to use it. So again, as long as everybody's respectable, they can stay. If you become disrespectful or you don't want to adhere to what's being requested, which is a simple request, then at the end of the day, you gotta leave. It's just that simple. Because like I said, proof is not a problem. If you can't produce the proof, that's a problem. Simple. That's all I'm saying. So take it how you want to take it, feel how you want to feel about it, but that's how I view it. That's how I see it. So hopefully that makes sense. Jay Susquehanna says anybody can get it.
Y'all silly. Frida with another great phone call. I appreciate it, Frida.
Frida got more lines.
Look, she hung the phone up. She ain't even pressing him. She got that many lines.
And she got physical lines. Don't be playing.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to play around. You don't want to play around.
So, at the end of the day, you know, the goal is to expose people to the information, and the goal is to cite your sources, like the information that Gabrielle is reading from. She just emailed me the information, the books that she was reading from. So I'm going to post that in the forum. So at the end of the day, like we always tell people, if you have information that you're trying to present, there's two ways that you can send it. Well, actually three. You can post a link in the chat, or you can actually put the information in the forum, which you actually own, because it's under your login. Got space where we have our own personal webpage, own personal website, and our own service, which gives you the ability to put that information back there. Or you can email us the information. So, you know, if that's what we're requesting, then I mean, I don't see why that's a problem. But at the end of the day, if people gonna do what they're gonna do, they're gonna feel how they're gonna feel, and they're gonna say what they're gonna say. So, again, as long as you're respectful, we cool. You get disrespectful, you get booted.
And look at it this way to all the relatives. This is built to keep the integrity of us and our relatives in mind. And the reason why we want to make sure everything that we state, there's a source, because we already know the powers that be are going to do everything possible to tear it down. So we're just trying to make sure everything that we're doing moving forward is documented, for further generations are not stuck in this same rat race. If we don't get it done, we passing on this same curse to our children. And that's all this is about, making sure what happened can never happen again by us living up to that responsibility, becoming the keepers of time, the keepers of our records again. That's all this is about.
Yeah, so no disrespect to anyone. So, I mean, everybody get treated the same regardless. So, hopefully that answers everyone's questions. Let's see. Oh, it's 10:35. It's that time. So, let's see. Gabrielle, what you got to say to the good people before we let them get on out their way and do what they do? We definitely appreciate you. We appreciate you providing the information. I'm gonna post that in the forum so people can see it. What you got? Did you want to share with the people today?
I mean, I just appreciate the listening and the knowing, and the sharing. I listen to Frida, and I definitely agree with a lot with on what she said. Like, I didn't even know. It took me it was like a month and a half ago. I didn't know that the territories, what I found out doing research at the time, by the time frame, that territories were established by what were called half-bloods, and they use that to their benefit to do other things. So, like, I just appreciate the sharing. I really do. I appreciate the listening and the sharing. The jokes too.
At least the funny ones, right? I'm just saying, I don't appreciate a joke that ain't funny. I'm just saying, you might be a little different, but me, it's got to be funny. I'm not gonna appreciate it, but I understand what you're saying.
I'm just saying, but if it make you crack a smile, once you give a smile away, you can't take it back. So I mean, made you crack a smile.
Okay. Well, that would be no sellout department. He always cracking smiles and cracking up and cracking like it. But anyway,
just don't do crack. Crack is whack.
Say what?
Oh yeah, you just finding that out? Yeah, crack whack.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gabrielle.
Rest in peace, John Witherspoon. Thank you sounded like him at the beginning of Friday when he was ordering food in his sleep. Rest in peace, John. Is it John Witherspoon?
John Witherspoon.
The third, I believe. I think he passed away this late last night. Is it my turn? Is Gabrielle done? My bad.
I mean, we waiting on you. You got the mic, so do what you do.
No, I mean, we all got it, Everybody off mute.
Well, I'm going back on mute. How about that?
Hold up. Okay. Hold up. Frida's still here? Who's that? We got another call on the line. Am I tripping?
It's me, you.
Listen, 2210.
I think that might. Who is 2210? Is that?
See, look. You don't even know. Trying to start something with me. 2210. You can go ahead and go on and give your salutations if you would like to. If you want to unmute yourself, it is *6. That ain't Frida. Is it Frida? Hold on.
Frida got more numbers than look.
Frida called back.
Frida got more numbers than a bookie. Don't do that.
15, 30, 37, 38.
2210. You got something that you want to say? Unmute yourself so we can hear you.
*6 to unmute yourself. *6.
Panelists, look. So I'm gonna say this, so don't take it personal. Panelists for talking, not for stalking. I'm just saying.
The panel is for talking, not for stalking. I like that. I might hashtag that one in the chat.
Name mine. I don't know.
Put the number next to it.
You got it. You got it.
Yep. It's going along with the new one.
So press *6 so we can hear from you. If not, I'm gonna have to put you in the waiting room, and I don't want to do that. I'm not as mean as I sound. There you go.
You hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. What you got, boss? What you got?
Okay, this is Chief Spirit of Cherokee Nation.
What's going on?
Pretty good. What I've been told, my side of my family from the Cherokee Nation, there was other war outside of United States where they went and got the Indian and bumped them to another continent, and they fought up that land and in the plantation where they put the slave into the work. And this would have happened back then. Not only we were fighting the United States, we were fighting other continents as well. So we have to remind ourselves that we cannot let that happen again, because this is our own land. And people tend to believe that, oh, this is a treaty that we have here. We have other treaties outside of the United States as well too. But I did my research on it. And so that notion basically, I want to remind y'all, do more research this outside of the United States as well, so that you can get the glimpse of what's going on, really what happened back then. So not only that I'm Cherokee, I'm Choctaw too. A lot of Choctaw from Mississippi, they had war as well, because a lot of them mixing with the Seminoles went to Mexico, and they went to Mexico. They had war the other part of the country as well too. So the whole scenario, and I'm making this, it's mind blowing to me. I was sitting here listening to my grandfather who was telling me this. My grandmother, Becky, she was Cherokee. She speaks the Cherokee language, and my grandfather speaks the Choctaw. And I ain't never, I was growing up. I ain't saying I ain't on time for that. And she said, one day, boy, you gonna learn. You gonna learn. She kept telling me that I was hard headed. So now when she passed away here in Las Vegas back in 2010, and she said, you know what to do. I said, okay, Grandma, I know what to do. Because she died at 91 years old. That's a long time, man. Somebody went through, from that era from 1919, it was horrible back then, she was telling me. And that's what she had to put up, because a lot of them Indians get off of reservation land, they could not say, oh, I'm American Indian, or they couldn't write down a piece of paper, because they would simply get killed, because that's how mindset of bad people was back then. It was so evil. So blessed that we have the technology, stuff like that. So like I said again, so we have to look into what really happened back then outside of the United States, this world inside. So my brother, I congratulate you, both of y'all guys, put the platform up, share the story. So that's what I'm doing right now. By the way, my name is Chief Spirit of the Cherokee Nation, and I'm part of Choctaw Nation as well. So I hope everybody, keep doing what you're doing, spread the word. I'm trying to reach out my young people, but sometimes they hesitate and they don't want to do it. They don't want to listen. But as soon as you put the dollar in their face and they going to listen then. So that's what I'm standing up right now.
Yeah, appreciate you all calling in. And real quick, because I noticed we have a lot of people that's tuning in recently. We're actually 7 months in. So the Indian Wars and all the other treaties we have covered and do builds on them. It's just right now in this week, we're on a particular time talking about particular treaties. We cover all the treaties and all the wars. It's just right now we're talking about a particular war.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time. But like I said, keep doing what you're doing. I'm trying to reach out my people, stuff. Because I used to talk to Coach and all them, a couple other guys, stuff like that. But
yeah, this Bones, I remember you back when we started the show. I remember your voice.
Right. Because I've been busy. I'm in Las Vegas right now, but I got land out in Peru, and I got land in New Mexico. Because people like, what language are you speaking? I said, I speak Cherokee and Choctaw. And they would look at me like, hey man, are you Haiti or something? Or you Puerto Rican or something? No, man. I be sitting on the phone, and I'm sitting on the bus, and they're like, what language you speak, man? That African language. No, that's not African. Man, you sick. Something wrong with you, man. I'll just bust out laughing. I just roll, man. I just roll with it, But they're not familiar with the language that we had taught back then. And that's how my grandmother kept telling me the Cherokee. The Osceola, I said, hello, something like that, right? So like I was saying, everybody, you gotta know your culture and the language and everything going on with it. If you don't, then you like a brother said earlier, like the sisters, I'm talking about the sisters. She was telling me, you black, but they don't know the term of black mean, you know what I'm saying? And I've been watching about Regional Son. I've been watching him lately, on YouTube, I shout out for him, So he recently went out of Oklahoma and asked the brother about what tribe he was. He couldn't even remember what tribe he was. That's how bad it is, man. I mean, just how fake people will get that recognition because that recognition not recognition for us. We have to stop paying that whole, hey, you can't do that. You have original American Indian. We have to step down to them. And to this day, I'm in Las Vegas, they would not acknowledge me. Until I show proof. I got documentation that all the way back in the 1883, 1881, back then, in my family, and they be tripping like, man, how many acre land your family own? I said about 2,000 or 3,000 acre land. They be tripping, man. I'm like, wow. But they don't want to do the work like brother said on the platform. He put the work in, and y'all platform grow, and that's how you do it. When you put the work in, then, you're going to be blessed, A lot of people don't want to do the work, and that's sad, They keep calling us ladies, this and that. When we do something, they want to imitate it, and then we're like, oh, we did it, No, it don't work that way. Really don't work that way. You got to put the work in. It took me 2 years. All my family, I know I was Cherokee when I was growing up, but I didn't know I had Choctaw till about a year ago. My family member, I talked to my family member on the Choctaw side, So it's a blessing, man. I would want y'all to keep up doing y'all doing, keep doing your research, genealogy, on your family and stuff like that. And just stay strong, man, Stay strong. All right. Peace.
We definitely appreciate you. If we got your contact information, we definitely will be reaching out to you. The next time I'm in Vegas, I'm gonna look you up. So hopefully we'll be able to get together.
No.
I got my number and let you know. I got a catering business too. I remember I was speaking to you. That's why I was working on my catering business stuff. I'm doing farming and all that stuff. Helping brothers out and sisters out. Get them jobs, get them employment. And then when I'm doing that, at the same token, I just showed them how to do their own genealogy. Get that little money. This how you do this how you do that. So that way they can put their foot in the door. How difficult PIA is. I remember, I think his name is A1. I remember he was calling that dude. He said, man, I'm a Cherokee. Can I get one of the tribes? And the dude, that same dude he was talking, that's the dude I was dealing with at the same time. I think his name is David. I think down in Oklahoma or something. So, I'm going to get him. Man. I got a couple of lawyers, man. I'm going to stick to him, You don't retreat my people like that. All you proof, like I said, proof that your ancestors got land, and they on a title of that die roll, everything like that. You stick it to them, man. Make sure you get a copy. Your family get a copy, like a notebook. You know what I'm talking about? Like a divine notebook. Keep all that copy. And once you do that, then you can sue like the government. I'm working on. I know my brother. What is his name? American Council, Indian. She Carlo. Y'all probably know who I'm talking about, right? But anyway, he kind of helped me out a little bit. Say again now?
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Okay, yeah, he doing it well. He put the work in, and I reached out. He was telling him down the way, Dan kind of way, and Kerry Dade was going at it. I said, I don't tolerate that. I'm gonna cheat for one reason, and that cheat being have a lot of responsibility, and that responsibility being cheat is not just make the bill that we fighting on each other. We have to move forward. It's a lot of work. I met a brother out of New Mexico, and he was a Navajo tribe. He said, I'm going to worry about somebody calling me a name. I got other things to be worrying about. And this is stuff that we need to be doing. We have other things to be worrying about. Somebody call you this, you black, you nigger, you this, you that. Oh, you white, you white Indian, wherever. We don't have time for that right now, And so I reached out to people out of California, but they from New Mexico. They did a video called We Are The One. I know y'all check that out on YouTube. I reached out for them, and they called me back and said, hey, thank you, and I appreciate it. Like I said again, bro, so you got to keep our mind focused, Don't let anything disturb you for what you is. Like I said, now, just stop saving your money, buy you some land. I don't care. There's land out there you can get for $500, man. That's what I do, I introduce people with land. You put $500 down, $200 down, $100 down, pay $100 a month, and she paid it all. That land's yours. But you can put it in a trust fund, what I just found out. If your relative own land in that trust on a tribe road, you can buy the land and put it in that tribe, trust fund right there. And you can do that as well, too. Then, I know anyway we were talking about that you can go to school, they waive your school, you don't have to pay tuition. And, you can have your own business and stuff like that. Like I said, it's a lot of work to put in. That brother right there put a lot of work, a lot of information he gave me, and a lot of information I'm giving back to y'all. So, like I said again, not just the United States we focus on too. We have to focus on outside of the United States, because there was a lot of tribes out of the United States who was here on this plantation, what my grandfather would tell us. So we have to look at that too.
French, German, Irish, Italian. That's why we deal with the world history, because all of this is a part of our story. All the way down to the Ottoman Empire had influence over here in South Carolina.
Exactly. Because and people forget, but a lot of people didn't know that the Choctaw reach out to the island. It's Irish people. They basically sent some money over there, and they were very reclusive. I mean, they were starving. They trying to bring some Irish people over here. They throw them off the boat and all that. There was some Africans doing it too. Spanish was doing it too. What I found out that later on, I did my research. It's amazing, man, how Choctaw Nation stuck up as a human being, send food and money over there and help these people. And they survive, And
that's where the potato come from. That's where the Irish got the potato from, the Choctaw. It comes from here.
Right. Exactly. And so what I'm saying to people, I went to Ice Bar one day. I was drinking, and I was like, okay, it would give me a beer. And he said, what is that on your phone? I said, this is Choctaw. The Irish people, he Irish himself. He didn't know. He said, I didn't know. My people ignorant, I mean, I didn't know. And then the girl bought me a drink. She said, I didn't know you either, because there's a lot of history down to outside of nice that we have to teach. Not just we black Indian. Oh, you're a black Indian. Oh, you're American Indian. No, we have to teach the people that outside of nice that would struggle. And so when we notify with them, coming together, it's gonna be better, because now we have allies. Hey, something go down. Hey, I'm gonna call my boy up. You know what I'm saying? So you have to look at the perspective of what's gonna really happen back then. So give you a blink what really happened. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Like I said, I appreciate we hold up the line for me. Last time I called, I couldn't get through. I got through today. Like I said, my name is Chief Spirit Sugar Nation, a Choctaw name. My real name is Joseph Cooper. And I'm a shopper in Las Vegas. I'm doing my thing. I own land. I'm helping people get land and business and stuff. That's my job. Not just my people, other people as well too. Thank you, brother. I have to go right now. Thank you.
All right, we
Thank
appreciate
you
you.
for taking the time
Much
to call in.
appreciated.
We got you locked in now, so now your name's gonna be locked in. So he just got right off the phone. He wasn't even playing.
Man, he just hung up.
He quit school because of recess. He don't play. All right, where we at? Y'all get there when y'all way home.
No, the chat talking like I hope they don't look at the clock, y'all.
I know,
I hope they
right?
don't look at the clock,
You
y'all.
knew they was. Look, they're like, read.
Antonio talking about some TMH freaking out because it's past 10:30. He about to get in an argument with somebody and have personal problems.
Look. On purpose too. On purpose.
I'm going on you.
He pulling an MC Gusto, yo. We had to start something.
Stupid. That's your brother. That's your brother. I'm not. I can't. I can't. James, help.
Oh yeah, I forgot James was on the call. Peace, James.
It's all you, bro.
Hey, James, peace. Hey, you made it.
Oh gosh.
Ain't
Wait.
nobody do it. No.
What you got for us, James? Doodoo Brown.
David Thompson, that's that Issa tribe.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
Like, you know how them Issa do.
David, leave my chair alone. No, Mr. TJ, leave my chair alone. That's who talking about my chair. Talking about my chair.
Sound effect. Hitting the button.
All right. I don't know if James is in a bad area or not, so we're gonna keep it moving. So, look, Oak Cliff talking about some. Okay, let's review today's lesson. No, Oak Cliff, we review tomorrow. Lesson. That's what we have. What did we learn today? Oak Cliff, one day we're gonna get you to call in. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna have all the formers call in. See, we already had Pamela Hall Pass call in. She's actually had a two community spotlights. So see, we gotta get back on the community spotlights too, Bones. We got people that got some stuff going on, so we gotta do a community spotlight on Golden Moon. We gotta do one on Cliff. Gotta do one on David Corey. We got a couple people we gotta do some community spotlights on because they doing some stuff in the background. They ain't telling nobody. So yeah, just keep your eye out on that. Let's see, where we at? Oh yeah. Hope everybody enjoyed the show today. Want to thank the new subscribers. I want to thank the silent majority, the Autochthonous Assembly, silent majority, the A2 silent majority, SIMAJ for short. To the best chat ever. Y'all get nuttier and nuttier every day. Just so y'all know. That's all I'm just saying. Y'all crazy. Something wrong with y'all. I don't know what the problem is. I know
they refusing to lead the show. They refusing to lead the show until Doodoo talks.
Well, how y'all go boycott? How y'all do a sit-in on a YouTube channel? Really?
Hey, I think I saw like 18 in the chat the other day too when we left like a long time ago.
How y'all gonna do a sit-in on a
YouTube? I had to come back and close it out myself, so I was like one of the 18. I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
Doodle Vision, your presence is requested. He might be busy. I can't make he a grown man. He been grown for a minute. I can't make him do that. You know, he come on when he want to come on. That's how it works. Nita says, I'm starting to think we are not called any of those names. I'm thinking the Holy City and Ancestral Lands. Well, that's the thing that we're trying to get back to, Nita. We're trying to find out what our ancestors actually called us. And there are some terms that are actually truthful and factful. It's just about getting back to the language. That's why James always talking about Ladino and the Micmac and those that created that language. Because you find out that language, you start to understand, you can actually get down to the root and the actual facts. So we're getting there. It's just, it's going to take us a little while, but we're going to get there. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to
Bones H. McCoy so he can give his shout out and citations, and we can take it on up out of here. I relinquish the mic.
All right. Like to thank my brothers on the panel again for another excellent show. Like to thank all our guest callers for calling in, sharing their stories and their information. Like to thank everyone in the chat, the ones that's active and share links every day, and the ones that just tune into the show, take the information and apply it to their lives for a better tomorrow. And again, as we keep going through these stories, these moments in history, let's don't forget how it all ties in together. Let's not keep falling for the okie doke that history happened in moments that was spread all across through time, when the reality is a lot of this is playing out at the same time. And there's multiple layers to keep us away from our truth, our story, who we really are. Remember, we're not accepting no pet names. So if we're not accepting pet names, then that means the best thing that we can do is go all out to find our true names and to make sure our children know their real name and where they come from. And all this information we need to be the holders of. No more days of trusting people who might look like us, who talk good, to hold on to our information. History shows us where it gets us. So on that note, everyone continue to have a very, very blissful day. Take the time out to work on your genealogy. Take the time out to help someone else get started on their genealogy. And on that note, to tomorrow's Rising Show, everyone, peace.
I knew you were going to stay on mute that long. Peace, y'all.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.